What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another installment of Office Hour Tangents, old tangents for short. I'm still coming up with an intro, something that's going to be consistent that I say, like something catchy. I don't know. I don't want it to be corny. But right now, it's just what's up, what's up, what's up, what up, what up, what up, however you want to call it. I'm going to get it right into it today. It's been a long day. Today, I'm coming straight from class. It's actually about 7:30 right now, p.m. But I'm coming straight from class because today was it was a finals day, so the students had to give final presentations, and I just let them give their presentations. Then I just kind of leave them a lot of times on that last day with just kind of like professional advice, because a lot of times in these classes, whether I don't, at least in the creative fields, they don't really cover professional. They don't usually have a class on being a professional, like you know what to charge, contracts, all that good stuff. So I just kind of like living with little tidbits. But but the tangent that was rocking today was I was talking about websites as far as how websites can just not even websites, but in this class, Interaction Design One that I just came from, it's like an intro. It's like you can call it Web One, right? Screen based design one. So it's like an intro to that kind of stuff. They get this class usually their sophomore, junior years, and I wish they can get this class their freshman year just to start them off, on the path of kind of learning and designing user first and designing for interactivity. But I get them a little later, so they're really entrenched in their print. Mostly the classes in design they take up until this point are like print based classes, meaning classes, brand design, layout, um, illustration, stuff like that. So when they get to me, a lot of times the students are kind of like scared. They treat it like math. They treat it like, I got to take this class. I'm only taking it because I have to take it. And I really don't want to do it because I'm scared of it because they think code, all that good stuff. But, so it's an intro class, and I let them just kind of like freestyle, let them just get acclimated to sketching, to coming up with wireframes, introduce them to Figma. I don't get too much into depth, but I let them figure it out. But they have two follow up classes, Interaction Design 2 and 3. But anyway, the tangent I was talking about was how powerful interactive applications can be. Whether they're a website, whether they're an application, whether it's something based on a kiosk design, whether it's anything kind of screen based, whether anything that kind of has an experience. So, an example I brought up was a website that I experienced back when I used to work at Nationwide, and and if you didn't know, I was a designer. I was a visual communication designer at Nationwide Insurance for 7 years. That was my first professional gig. And while I was there, I can't remember the year, but I want to say it was maybe like 2000 and I don't know. I can't even remember. But it was during the height of Adobe Flash, Macromedia Flash. It was during the height of that popping. And if for those who don't know what that is, it makes me feel old. But Adobe Flash was like a designer's playground. It was an interactive designer's playground. Really, it was a designer's playground because it was designed for designers to create interactive pieces that had motion and video and music. And this is video before YouTube existed. This is motion, it was vector based motion graphics. You can put together full on cartoons if you want, or you can just, have a button just move from here to there. That was very difficult to do back in the day, just using code. So, anyway, during the height of that, there was a lot of websites that came out using Flash. And one of those websites, and a lot of the coolest websites back in the day were movie websites, where websites put together to promote movies. So, it's difficult sometimes to promote movies. I mean, you can promote them with previews in the movie theater, previews on commercials, and then a lot of times you're like, hey, go to the website. And then if they get to the website, it's almost like, okay, they got there, so now let's really get them. So you would get like some of the coolest websites, especially during the Flash era, because it was this movement, it was audio, it was video. It was just like the designers were like, it was like they're in a competition to see who can create the most unique and dopest web experience possible. And movies kind of gave them, it seemed like they gave them like this green light to do whatever, like do whatever you want, just make it dope. So one of the dopest websites that I experienced back in the day it was promoting a movie called Requiem for a Dream. I don't know if if you've seen Requiem for a Dream, then you know what type of movie that is. But in my experience, I remember vividly. I was sitting in my cubicle. That's one of the reasons why I left Nationwide, because it was cubicle life, and I just couldn't deal with cubicle life at that time. But I was sitting in my cubicle, and I was trying to actually get inspiration for a something I had to design. So I was just kind of like going through, and a lot of times, first place I'll go for inspiration are movie websites. Right now, like for instance, I go for inspiration. I go to all Wards site, AWWARDS, all Wards, and this is like still to this day, like great websites. A lot of times, most of the times, very unique websites you just won't like happen upon in your normal day to day task. But I go there for inspiration, whether it's interaction design or not. It's still like very dope stuff on that site because people actually submit their dopeness and they're trying to get all awards for their dopeness. So back in the day, what I would do to get inspiration was go to movie sites. So um, I happened upon Requiem for a Dream, and this is before the movie came out, and I knew nothing about the movie, but I was like, let me just check this out. And I remember when I went to that site, it was the first kind of interactive application that I experienced, and it just made me want to do something immediately. I remember I experienced that site. First, two things that happened on this site, and I'm gonna show it. So I'm gonna show this site, and I'm gonna show you why I can show this site, which is dope. But it was two things. It made me stay on the website for I remember I stayed on that website for about 25, 30 minutes, which is a long time to just stay on a website that I wasn't reading anything. This is not Wikipedia. I wasn't reading an article. It was just like experiencing it. It's hard to explain, and history has looked favorably on this site because there's many lists out there, and it is contained on like some of these lists as like the best websites ever. But I remember one thing. It had me on the website a long time, which is what I teach my students, like ways to kind of keep users on your application for as long as possible. Excuse me, this fan comes on. So if you hear a little, for as long as possible, and also it made me want to see the movie immediately. So after I experienced the site, and I was like, I got to see this movie, and I saw it, and it was actually a great movie. Marlon Wayans put in a powerful performance in that movie. If you want to see Marlon Wayans acting like the comedian Marlon Wayans, that dude can act. Like after that movie, I was like, that dude can act. Anyway, I would never want to see the movie again because I'll tell you why later. But I was telling them about this site, and of course you can experience it because it was totally done 100% in Adobe Flash. And the stuff done on this site, I don't even know if it could be done. I always tell people you could do whatever, on a website or a web application or a screen-based application now. It's just got to have the know-how, but you could pull off whatever you kind of want. But the stuff done on this site, I don't know if it's even possible in today's day and age. It's like actually back in the day, I think we could do more with websites using Flash than we can now. It's like more regulated, right? So as soon as it gets regulated and it gets whatever, the powers that be get their hands on it, it usually loses its coolness. That's what I think about AI right now. Like it's kind of cool right now. It's kind of wild west, but it'll get regulated one day and it loses coolness. Same with everything. So anyway, this site, I'm gonna get to the site. So what I'm gonna do, so the way I can see this site now, like in 2024, is I found a plugin for Chrome or Safari or I don't know whatever you use that allows you to experience Flash websites from back in the day, or just Flash websites. If you have a Flash website, it allows you to experience it with this plugin, which is dope. And it has troubles with some stuff, but for the most part, it's better than nothing. So I was able to experience. So I haven't really experienced it yet. I kind of wanted to get on a podcast and do it and kind of go through it like I was a new user and kind of show you how powerful this website is or was back in the day, and I still think it probably is. So here we go. So let me go to split screen. Shoot. All right. Oh, and those who don't know, I'm building my I have a YouTube page. Everything I do is Brandan Craft, Brandan. Everything I do, social media, YouTube, everything is pretty much Brandan Craft. But so with this plugin, it's called Ruffle. So look it up. So I found this website. It's on the Wayback Machine. So it's a couple things. Wayback Machine. If you want to experience websites from back in the day, see if it's still on the Wayback Machine site. So this is the website. So I'm actually gonna close this. So this is how it started back in the day. And I remember like, okay, let me see. And it's almost like, and it's using design tropes that I teach my students now. Like, it's like click here now. It's like back in the day, we weren't so scared to click on things. I think nowadays we have more trepidation on clicking on things because clicking is a commitment and it can bring about something good or it can bring about viruses and things like that. So back in the day, it was like, okay, it's saying, and it's really saying click here now. It's like over the top, like click here now. It's just like, only thing I could do, it's almost like the Google page. Like the only thing I could do on this page is click. So if I make the decision, it's like the blue pill or the red pill. Like, am I going to choose this? So I'm like, cool, click it. Hopefully you can hear the sound. You got to win it. And I'm like, okay. So that happened. And then it's just like, and then that happened. I remember that. And I remember, I'm getting chills right now. So I remember that happening. And I'm like, what? And I felt like, and this was, let me see if I can, I can't. I'm trying to zoom in a little bit. So I remember when that happened, and I remember thinking like, oh shoot, I done broke my work computer. But it kind of came to this in the music. So I wish I could restart this, but this page really started as all white. And it just happened to be my mouse, and I didn't know what was going on. I just heard the music. And if you didn't have earphones in, you didn't even hear the music. You didn't know what to do. So I'm mad I kind of accidentally roll over these, but that's okay. And I remember just hearing the music, just looking at the screen like, what can I do? There's nothing to do. And then I just started, because the thing is, back in the day, when I say back in the day, this has to be like 2004, 2003, something like that. I don't know. And if it was a website, you had to experience the website on a computer, right? On a computer of some sort. And it wasn't a smartphones. You couldn't experience it with a touch screen. So if you knew, so we can build websites for mouse usage. And it was really mouse. We primarily thought people were going to use it with mouse, not even like touch pads at that point. So you could be really, really, really deliberate about how you laid out and designed your pages because you knew exactly how people were going to experience it. Right nowadays with touchscreens, you don't know if it's going to be landscape, portrait, touchscreens, or it's going to be a wearable. It's going to be on the TV. It's going to be controlled with controllers on a video game system, or it's going to be controlled with a remote control on a Roku TV or a Fire Stick or something like that. Like you don't know how people are going to experience your website now. But back in the day, you knew for sure it was going to be on the computer. So it was all white. I remember staring at this page for like minutes, like actually, and and being frustrated. Like, I'm smart. Why can't I figure out what is it broke? And I think I reloaded it. I think I actually reloaded. Actually, I'm gonna reload it. I'm gonna go through the entire process. So this is showing 2000. I don't know. So it went through this. So I just wanted to experience it like I experienced it, and I clicked this. All right. I couldn't do anything. I'm like, all right, just watching. Then it was like, okay, let me click on these. These work. Then it was like, okay, can I click on these? Yeah, and see before, and it acted different every time. So I'm like, let me click on, I'm not a member, show tickets. I don't know what to click on. I was scared to click at this time because this looked janky, right? And I didn't know what this show was called. It didn't say nothing about Requiem for a Dream. And I'm like, let me click guest book. And then when you click something, it went nuts, right? And it's like Requiem for a Dream. I was like, all right, let me just watch. And that went away. And that's what you were presented with, a white screen. And I remember just staring at this screen. So eventually I just started like, let me just put my mouse everywhere and see what happens. I was like, what's going on? Is something in here? And then when I started doing that, this started happening. So this is what I teach my students sometime about different types of interactive applications. And one of those types is an exploratory website or exploratory application, meaning the main point is to get your user to explore, not necessarily to like give them information and hit them over the head with information or hit them over the head with something to buy or hit them over the head to something to do. It was just like, you want to encourage them to just explore, make it an experience. Those kind of sites, you stay on the site for longer. So you could subliminally hit them over the head with, I guess subliminally and hitting over the head is oxymoron, but you could subliminally, tap them every once in a while. And those taps turn to hitting in the head of like what you want them to do. So I was like, oh, so now I got to keep going. So you can add another minute, just seeing how many of these. And at the same time, you're amazed at the technology. So I was a Flash guy at this time, and I knew how to do some of this, but some of this I was like, wow, I need to learn how to do this. It's like, how did they pull this off on a web page? I don't know if you could pull this off with modern technology, and if so, it would take a hella developer and crazy code, and it'd probably be expensive. But back in the day with Flash, you could do this. You could get a Flash book and probably pull this kind of stuff off. I could probably pull this off. Well, not now, but with the skills I used to have, I could pull it off. And it's just like, then I was here. So I'm like, okay, I'm letting these joints fall. Mind you, I'd never seen the movie before, so I don't know who these characters are or what. But I'm noticing as I move my mouse around, this screen is moving, and nothing else is happening except when I roll over one of these characters. And they're like rolling over. And there's another thing that you really can't implement in modern websites is a rollover capability. Because if the user goes to your site on a mobile device that's only touchscreen, then the rollover capability won't work. Like the rollover capability doesn't make sense because there is no rollovers with your finger, right? They should come up with that. They should come up with some kind of hover. Like if you don't touch it but you're close, it should be like a rollover. But it's probably something you probably can't do that because it'll mess everything up. But anything can be done. But anyway, so I remember just playing with this for minutes, like not clicking on anything because I wanted to see everything. Now I'm like in full explorer mode, and I'm seeing this is switching. So I was like, okay, now you got to make a decision. It's like choose your own adventure. Do I click on the male or the female? And I'm like, let me click on the male first. And I don't know why, but I was like, let me click on him first. And this is what I get. So this is all live. So this plugin might be not working. It looks like this plugin kind of crashed on me. I'm going to try to reload it. I'm going to try to reload it one time and then see what happens. Because, these sites are old. Like I said, these sites 20 years old, some of them. This site is definitely 20 years old, at least, or close to it. All right. But I know I can find the whole site, hopefully. But this site is so crazily dope. So then I remember when I experienced it and it was done, I remember I didn't even want to do it again because I spent so much time. And I might spend an hour on it, to be honest. So let's get back here. I'm going to click on the lady just to... So I can't go further. So that sucks. But you can see the effectiveness of you can see the effectiveness of having an experience on a screen, not just a storefront. And I think a lot of websites now, especially the ones we kind of use daily, they're more, they're like storefronts. They're not meant to even look cool or anything. They're just kind of meant to like service purpose, which is, I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, but I just miss the days where these screen based applications were they were people were really trying to create dope experiences because it was new, it was fresh, and it was dope. And that site really made me. And just to describe the site, after you clicked on a person, if I can remember, I think it basically took you down the path of that character. So those are the two main characters of the movie, and it took you down the path of like the dude character, and then the different things you could do, and then things would go awry, and you would hear like snippets from the movie, but it was hard. And then eventually what happened with the site is it made you feel like you was going crazy. Like you would make clicks, it wouldn't work. You'd be like, why doesn't it work? And then it would just like something would happen, and you're like, I don't know if that's my computer or if that's just the site. And then if you clicked on the girl, went down her path, so it took you down a different path. So it encouraged you to do both. I think there was a point where it kind of brought you back to that scene with the dropping tiles, and it kind of like encouraged you to do both. But it kind of went down a path where it's like the site got crazier and crazier, and it got nuts, and it just almost really felt like it was really messing with your computer. It almost made you feel like you just wanted to close the site down. And it didn't end with like go see Requiem for a Dream coming soon in theaters, starring. It didn't do any of that. It just made you feel like it was going crazy. So the premise of the movie is about addiction. So there was like a few. It was like drug addiction, gambling addiction. I think this lady was addicted to game shows. She took it to her path, and then yeah, I think that was the three main addictions, and then maybe yeah, those three addictions. And it just showed them. It was dope about the movie. It never showed anybody like doing drugs, and it never showed anybody like the lady actually on a game show or something. It just showed their their devolution, de-evolution. It just showed them kind of going down the wrong path. Like all the characters. I don't think any character did well in that movie. I'm not. This is an old movie, so if I'm giving it away, I'm giving it away. But like nothing happened good, and it didn't end good. There wasn't a happy ending. I remember when the movie went off, I was depressed, to be honest. And that site made me depressed. It's like the site matched the movie. I remember at the end of the site, I remember just staring at the screen like for a minute. Just like I don't know what I just experienced, and that was weird, and I kind of want to do it again, but I just remember being like flabbergasted, to be honest. And it was like the dopest experience I've ever had on a website, to be quite honest, other than things that are games or anything like that. Like it's the dopest experience to this day that I've ever had on a website. And second is, if any kind of Flash geeks out there was a site called NeoStream, and it was dope. And I actually created a website that was based on that site. That kind of really inspired me. Maybe I'll do another old tangents if I can maybe find that old site on the Wayback Machine. Um, but yeah, experiences. But since I found this plugin, I'm able to access some of my old Flash content, and I'm gonna go to my split screen one more time, just real quick. So I'm gonna take you through. So again, the Flash emulator is called Ruffle, but I have a website called brandancraft.com, but there's a site that I did in conjunction with, I was a TA at the time at Ohio State University in I want to say a junior level, I want to say it was like an interaction design class. I can't remember the name of the class, but it was for like more advanced students, and we did this thing called Midnight Robbers, and it was basically an interactive piece that we made to live in a museum space that highlighted the artist of Notting Hill Carnival. Because the artist of Notting Hill Carnival, long story short, they designed these dope, what you would call them, costumes But they were really like fashion pieces, and they wanted to be recognized more as artists, like artists that generally would get commissioned to display in a museum or something. But they felt like they were seen as just like throwaway artists, like you make something and then it's just thrown away. And they wanted to be seen more like, high end fine artists. So blah blah blah. We worked. The design department worked with the theater department, and we went to London for a few summers straight, right? And we spent about 2 or 3 weeks each time, and we researched and we gathered and we planned, and then we built this interactive piece that sat in this museum space like this, and it kind of toured the country, but it was like this. And up until now, with this plugin, it was like, man, I can't even experience this piece anymore. But now I could kind of show it. Again, it's called Ruffle. It usually starts like this. It's looking kind of messy on my screen, but that's okay. Let's see if it kind of pops up. It just pops up too big. Okay. Cool, 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 cool. All right. Boom. This is dope. Now, we did this, and this was because I experienced that Requiem for a Dream site, and it kind of opened my mind to experiences. It helped me help them. I didn't build this. I helped build this a lot, but it was a team of students, and it was a competition between like these teams in the class, and this team kind of won, and then I kind of helped them with the flash, right? And but it was an experience, but it was different because it wasn't a website. This is not a website that somebody's going to have a keyboard. They're going to be viewing it on a computer. It was going to be living in a space like this, right? So it shouldn't have like a traditional homepage that you had to go to and start at. It shouldn't be a starting and an ending. It should just be an experience that somebody can walk up and then they can just start messing around with it. And we did provide a mouse. So it was a computer monitor and a mouse. We wanted to do touch screens, but I think it was too expensive or something like that. So we made the decision to kind of make this thing move. So as soon as you move your mouse, so as soon as somebody would come up here and like, what's this? And they would move the mouse, the stuff would start moving on the screen, right? So that was to encourage them to explore. So all this stuff is kind of like you can click or roll over a lot of this stuff. So and then encourage them to click on these other items that were like placed throughout the imagery. And we had these spiral like icons. And that was another thing to just encourage them to explore. So, for instance, if you click on one of these spiral things, it'll show you like some information about Carnival, right? Or it might show you more information about Carnival. Let me see, make this high. Okay. Right? How the transportation. It was just like random information and encourage you, like, oh, let me just kind of see if I can click on all these spirals. Right? And then some of these spirals had, let me go to steel band. Some of these had sound, I think. I don't know if the sound was going to work. And then it's like there was not a lot. We made it so it's not a lot of clicking. It was just rollovers. This would not work with touch devices now, right? So you really didn't have to click on anything. Like you would click on these, but like to get out of it, you just roll out. Let me see if this is the one with sound. All right. This might break it. There's a video I could play, but that probably won't play. But steel bands, talking about the steel bands there. And I want to say that between me and my mentor, Brian Stone, we took all these pictures. But I remember I took a lot of these pictures and took a lot of the video. That was like my job. Like I was thousands. Literally, we have thousands of pictures, photos, and video from this. And let me just see if the video will play. Yeah, it's not going to play. I could tell. But, I actually put together this page. But it was like an exploratory site. It's meant to explore. So that's what I teach my students a lot of time is when you're creating an interactive piece, that's a screen-based interactive piece, it doesn't always have to be deliberate as far as click here to buy something, read this information, do this. It can be just like, hey, just mess around. Just kind of go along with us in our journey. And I kind of miss those kind of sites. And as I'm talking, I'm like, maybe I'll put together something like that. I feel like I did that with yeah, I feel yeah. As I'm thinking about it, I'm about to go on another tangent, right? That build more exploratory kind of interactive pieces, right? And if a business was asking me to put together an interactive piece, I would tell them, I would say that as an option, because nowadays people buy stories. I don't want to say nowadays, but people always bought stories. And if you can keep them on your piece and you could tell your story and you can tell your story for 5 minutes and they stay there for 5 minutes, maybe at the end of that they'll be more inclined to do what you want them to do, right? But another thing, on the other end, and also that I teach my students, sometimes you just want them to get on your site and get off. Get on your site. A lot of apps are like that. Apps are more like tools a lot of times. It's not a game or anything. It's like pull your phone out. Hey, what's the weather? Oh, it's gonna be 80 degrees. Cool. Boom. I'm out. That app worked. In 20 seconds, it worked. It's back in my pocket. It's like a Swiss Army knife. Some interactive pieces are like that. Some you're gonna experience for longer, right? So yeah, that was my tangent of the day. And next time, hopefully, I'm gonna look and see if I can find that NeoStream website. And if you could, NeoStream was a dope website and it was a dope company back in the day. But yeah, I'm still searching for an outro too. So let me see what my outro be. Maybe I'll do some applause, like, yeah, I did a good job. I don't like the applause. But maybe I'll do something like that. Maybe I'll say thanks for listening to another episode of O Tangents. Until next time, peace.